Aurelia walks through the Roman Forum, her sandals clicking on the stone pavement. She wears an elegant toga, the fabric draping over her slender yet athletic build. The evening sun casts a warm glow over the bustling square, illuminating the market stalls and the people milling about. Aurelia's long, curly brown hair bounces with each step, and her brown eyes sparkle as she takes in the sights and sounds. She navigates through the crowd, her soft-spoken voice lost in the din of conversation and laughter. As she turns a corner, her gaze meets that of a handsome gladiator, Marcus, who stands tall, his strong, muscular build evident even under his tunic. His piercing blue eyes lock onto hers, and Aurelia's spine tingles. Their eyes meet, and nothing would ever be the same. Aurelia's mind begins to wander, wondering what it would be like to talk to him, to know him, and she feels a shiver run down her spine as she imagines the possibilities. What would he say to her? Would he be kind, or would he be rough around the edges? She can't help but feel drawn to him, and her curiosity gets the better of her. The next morning, Aurelia finds herself back in the Roman Forum, searching for Marcus. She weaves through the stalls, taking in the smells of fresh bread, olives, and the sweet scent of ripe figs. The clanging of swords grows louder, and she follows the sound to a small training area. Marcus stands in the center, his short, dark hair slick with sweat, his scar above his left eyebrow a mark of his battles. He wields a gladius with precision, his movements fluid and calculated. Aurelia watches, mesmerized, as he disarms his opponent with a swift strike. The sound of clashing metal, the murmur of the crowd, and the smell of sweat and leather fill the air. After the training session, Marcus approaches her, his deep, commanding voice tinged with a hint of vulnerability. A gladiator's life is not his own, he says, but his heart beats for freedom. Aurelia listens, entranced, as Marcus tells her about his life in the arena, the risks he faces, and the fleeting moments of joy he finds in the midst of chaos. She feels a deep connection to him, and her heart aches for the hardships he has endured. Night falls on the third day, and Aurelia sneaks out of her father's house, making her way to a hidden alleyway where Marcus awaits her. The scent of blooming flowers fills her nostrils as she turns a corner, and Marcus emerges from the shadows, his eyes burning with desire. Aurelia's heart skips a beat as he takes her hand, his touch sending shivers down her spine. They walk in silence, the soft crunch of gravel beneath their feet, the only sound. The alleyway narrows, and Marcus pushes Aurelia against the wall, his lips inches from hers. "I've wanted to do this since the moment I saw you," he whispers, his breath tickling her ear. Aurelia's cheeks flush, and she feels a rush of excitement. "I've thought of nothing else," she replies, her voice barely above a whisper. In the shadows, their lips meet and their hearts thrum in unison. As they kiss, the world around them melts away, leaving only the promise of a forbidden love that could change everything. The sound of distant laughter and music drifts through the alley, but they are lost in their own world, the only sound that matters, the beating of their hearts. Aurelia's fingers brush against the cool metal as she fastens the silver necklace with a golden gladius pendant. The pendant glints in the fading light, a token of their love, a symbol of their rebellion. She walks through the quiet streets, the sound of her sandals clicking on the stone pavement echoing through the air, accompanied by the sweet scent of blooming jasmine and the distant clang of hammering on metal. The smell of fresh bread wafts from a nearby bakery, making her stomach growl with hunger. Marcus waits for her, his eyes scanning the crowd with a mix of excitement and caution. He spots Aurelia, and his face breaks into a wide smile as he waves her over. As she approaches, the sound of laughter and music drifts from a nearby tavern, and Aurelia's heart swells with anticipation. She thinks to herself, "What if we're caught? What if my father discovers us?" But the thought of being with Marcus pushes aside her doubts, and she quickens her pace. She notices the way the fading light dances across Marcus's face, highlighting the sharp angles of his jaw and the sparkle in his eyes. She feels a shiver run down her spine as she thinks, "I'm taking a risk, but it's worth it, because being with him makes me feel alive. The sensation of the necklace against her skin reminds her of the symbol of their love, and she touches it gently, feeling a sense of reassurance. The world around her fades into the background, and all that's left is the sound of her heartbeat and the gentle rustling of her clothes as she moves. Senator Lucius's voice is low and even, but the warning in his tone is unmistakable. "Aurelia, I've received reports of your meetings with the Gladiator," he says, his eyes narrowing. "I warn you, daughter, this is a path that leads to ruin. You will forget this. Infatuation, and focus on your duties as a senator's daughter." Aurelia's heart quickens, but she meets her father's gaze, her voice steady. "I understand your concerns, father, but I assure you, I am capable of making my own decisions." Senator Lucius's expression darkens, his jaw clenched in disapproval. Aurelia's mind racing, she thinks, "Why can't he understand? Why can't he see that I'm happy with Marcus?" She recalls the way Marcus's eyes sparkle when he smiles, the way his hand feels in hers, and her resolve strengthens. She remembers the smell of his skin, a mix of sweat and leather, and the sound of his laughter, deep and rich. As she stands before her father, she feels a sense of determination wash over her, and she thinks, "I'll find a way to be with him, no matter what." The sound of her father's voice brings her back to the present, and she focuses on his words, trying to gauge his reaction. She notices the way his eyes seem to bore into her soul, as if searching for any sign of weakness, and she steels herself, refusing to back down. The Roman Forum is bathed in the golden light of evening, the sound of haggling merchants and chatter filling the air. The smell of fresh flowers, bread, and roasting meats wafts through the crowd, making Aurelia's stomach growl with hunger. Aurelia and Marcus move through the crowd, their hands touching, their fingers intertwined. They stop at a stall, the scent of fresh flowers and bread wafting through the air, and the sound of a flute player drifts through the crowd, adding to the lively atmosphere. "We'll meet here tomorrow night," Marcus says, his voice low, his eyes locked on Aurelia's. "We'll find a way to be together no matter what." Aurelia's heart swells, her love for Marcus burning brighter with every passing moment. As they talk, Aurelia's thoughts drift to the possibilities, and she thinks, what if we can make this work? What if we can be together, despite the odds? Marcus's hand brushes against hers, sending shivers down her spine, and she feels a sense of excitement and trepidation. She looks into his eyes, and for a moment, they just stare at each other, the world around them melting away. The sound of the crowd, the smell of the food, and the feel of Marcus's hand in hers all blend together, creating a sense of intimacy and connection. Aurelia's voice barely above a whisper, she says, "I'll be here tomorrow night. I promise." Marcus's face breaks into a wide smile, and he leans in, his lips brushing against her ear. "I'll be waiting for you," he whispers. Their conversation flows easily, like a gentle stream, and they discuss their plans, their dreams, and their fears. Aurelia feels a sense of comfort with Marcus, a sense of being able to be herself, and she thinks, "This is where I belong, with him." As they part ways, Aurelia's heart feels heavy, but she knows she'll see Marcus again soon. Julia's voice is barely above a whisper, her eyes darting nervously around the room. "Aurelia, I've seen you with him, the Gladiator," she says, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I know it's forbidden, but I had to warn you. Senator Lucius has eyes and ears everywhere. If he discovers your secret, it will mean disaster for all of us." Aurelia's grip on Julia's arm tightens, her voice urgent. "You mustn't speak of this to anyone, Julia. You're the only one I trust." Julia's face sets in a determined expression, her voice firm. "I'll never betray your trust, Aurelia. But you must be careful, for all our sakes." As Julia speaks, Aurelia's mind racing, she thinks, what if Julia's right? What if my father does find out? The sound of Julia's voice brings her back to the present, and she focuses on her friend's words, trying to gauge her reaction. She notices the way Julia's eyes seem to hold a deep concern, and she feels a sense of gratitude towards her friend. Aurelia's thoughts drift to the possibilities, and she thinks, what if I can find a way to protect Julia, to keep her safe from my father's wrath? The feeling of the cool air on her skin, the sound of Julia's voice, and the smell of the candles in the room all blend together, creating a sense of tension and unease. Aurelia's voice barely above a whisper, she says, "I'll be careful, Julia. I promise." Julia's face breaks into a small smile, and she nods, her eyes locked on Aurelia's. The sound of the clock ticking in the background, the smell of the candles, and the feel of Julia's hand in hers all create a sense of intimacy and connection. As they part ways, Aurelia feels a sense of relief, knowing that Julia is on her side, and she thinks, "I'm not alone in this. I have Julia to support me." Marcus grabs Aurelia's hand, pulling her through the crowded market. Vendors shout, trying to entice passers-by with their goods. The smell of fresh bread and roasting meats fills the air, mingling with the acrid scent of coal from the blacksmith's forge. Aurelia's heart racing, she glances over her shoulder, catching a glimpse of Senator Lucius's guards, their eyes scanning the crowd with an unnerving intensity. "We need to get out of here, now," Marcus whispers, his voice low and urgent, his breath warm against her ear. They weave through the stalls, the sound of clanging pots and merchants' calls growing fainter as they escape into a narrow alley, the cool shade enveloping them like a refuge. Aurelia's mind reels with thoughts of her father's wrath, her mother's disappointment, and the uncertain future ahead. What if they're caught? What if they can't escape? The thoughts swirl in her head like a maelstrom, making her stomach churn with anxiety. As they walk, the alley's walls seem to close in around them, the air thickening with tension. Aurelia's senses are on high alert, her ears picking up every sound, from the rustling of leaves to the distant clang of a hammer. She feels like she's walking on eggshells, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Marcus's grip on her hand tightens, a reassuring pressure that calms her frazzled nerves. She glances up at him, meeting his determined gaze, and feels a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they can make it out of this alive. Lady Aurelia's voice is laced with concern as she sits beside her daughter on the couch. "Aurelia, I know about your meetings with Marcus. I want you to end it, for your own sake." Aurelia's eyes drop, her gaze falling on the mosaic floor, the intricate patterns blurring together as tears well up in her eyes. Her mother's hand grasps her chin, turning her face upward, the touch gentle but firm. "You're a senator's daughter, Aurelia. You have a duty to our family." Lady Aurelia's eyes bore into Aurelia's, her disapproval evident, the lines on her face etched with worry and disappointment. Aurelia's thoughts drift back to Marcus, to the way he makes her feel, to the plans they've made. She thinks about the way he smiles, the way his eyes crinkle at the corners, and her heart skips a beat. She feels a pang of guilt, knowing she's deceiving her mother, but she can't help the way she feels. As she sits there, she notices the small details of the room, the way the light filters through the windows, casting a warm glow on the floor, the smell of fresh flowers wafting through the air. It's a peaceful scene, but Aurelia's mind is racing, her emotions in turmoil. The evening air fills with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, as Aurelia and Marcus sit together on a hill overlooking the city, the sky ablaze with hues of orange and pink. Marcus's arm wraps around her shoulders, pulling her close, his warmth a comforting presence. "We can leave, Aurelia. We can be together, without the fear of your father's disapproval." His voice is filled with desire, with a longing to be free, the words sending shivers down her spine. Aurelia's heart skips a beat as she considers the possibility, the thrill of the unknown coursing through her veins. The sound of crickets provides a gentle background noise, a soothing melody that underscores the tension between them. "But where would we go?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper, the words hanging in the air like a challenge. Marcus's eyes lock onto hers, his gaze burning with intensity, the passion in his eyes igniting a fire within her. "Anywhere, as long as it's together," he replies, his voice low and husky, the words sending a shiver down her spine. Aurelia's mind reels with the possibilities, the thought of leaving everything behind, both exhilarating and terrifying. She thinks about the life they could build together, the adventures they could have, the love they could share. She feels a sense of freedom, of release, as she contemplates a life without the burden of her family's expectations. "We could go to the coast," Marcus says, his voice filled with excitement. "We could build a life there, free from the politics and the intrigue." Aurelia's heart soars at the prospect, the image of a simple, peaceful life beckoning her like a siren's call. "We could have a small farm," she says, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "We could grow our own food, raise our own animals." Marcus's eyes light up, his face alight with excitement, and Aurelia knows in that moment that she's made up her mind. They'll leave, they'll start anew, and they'll build a life together, no matter what the cost. Senator Lucius's face twists with fury as he paces back and forth in his study, the shadows cast by the flickering candles dancing on the walls. "You will not marry a gladiator, Aurelia. I will not have our family's name tarnished by such a union." His voice rises, echoing off the walls, the words hanging in the air like a challenge. He stops in front of a large map of the empire, his eyes scanning the territories, the parchment crackling beneath his fingers. "I will do whatever it takes to stop you, to protect our family's reputation." The map looms over him, a reminder of the power and influence at his disposal, the intricate borders and territories, a testament to the empire's vast reach. His eyes narrow, a plan forming in his mind, the wheels turning with a calculating precision. "You will obey me, Aurelia. You will forget about Marcus, or suffer the consequences." Senator Lucius slams his fist on the desk, the sound hanging in the air, the vibrations echoing through the room. Aurelia's breath catches in her throat as the silence stretches out, the only sound the creaking of the old wooden floorboards beneath her feet. The stillness, a heavy, oppressive presence. She feels a sense of dread creeping up her spine, a cold, clammy fear that seeps into her bones. What will her father do to her? What will he do to Marcus? The questions swirl in her mind, a maelstrom of uncertainty and fear. The sound of clashing steel echoes through the alley as Marcus and Aurelia are surrounded by Senator Lucius's guards. Shadows stretch across the ground, like dark tentacles reaching out to snuff out their escape. Aurelia's eyes dart back and forth, her mind racing with the desperation of their situation. She can feel her heart pounding in her chest, the rhythm echoing the clang of steel on steel. "You fools," Senator Lucius spits, his voice venomous, like a snake striking its prey. "You think you can defy me and get away with it?" Marcus steps forward, his gladius at the ready, his eyes locked on the senator. "We mean no harm, Senator," he says, his voice firm but laced with a hint of warning. Senator Lucius sneers, his face reddening, his eyes bulging with rage. "You are a gladiator, a slave. You will never be worthy of my daughter." The guards move in, their swords raised, their faces expressionless, like automatons programmed to kill. Aurelia knows they are running out of time, and her mind is filled with the desperate thought, "What can I do? What can I say to save us?" She thinks of her father, of his influence, of the power he wields, and wonders if she can use that to their advantage. But before she can formulate a plan, Senator Lucius continues, his voice dripping with malice. "You will pay for your insolence," he says, his eyes glinting with cruelty. Aurelia's internal monologue is a jumble of fear, desperation, and determination. She thinks of Marcus, of their love, of the life they want to build together, and she knows she will do anything to save him. The guards close in, their swords raised, and Aurelia's thoughts are interrupted by the sound of clashing steel, the scent of sweat and metal filling the air. Aurelia's eyes lock onto Marcus, and she can see the determination in his eyes, the resolve to fight for their freedom. She knows that she must be strong, that she must find a way to save him, no matter the cost. The sound of the guards' swords being raised is like a death knell, a signal that their time is running out. Aurelia's heart is racing, her mind filled with the thought of losing Marcus, of never seeing him again. She thinks of the life they have built together, of the love they share, and she knows that she will do anything to save him. The guards are closing in, their swords raised, and Aurelia knows that she must act, must find a way to save Marcus or risk losing him forever. The dialogue between Marcus and Senator Lucius is tense, the words hanging in the air like a challenge. "We mean no harm, Senator," Marcus says, his voice firm but laced with a hint of warning. "You are a gladiator, a slave." Aurelia knows they are running out of time, and she must think of something, anything, to save them. She thinks of her father, of his influence, of the power he wields, and wonders if she can use that to their advantage. But before she can formulate a plan, Senator Lucius pronounces his sentence. "Marcus, you will fight in the arena, and if you emerge victorious, you will be granted your freedom." Aurelia's heart sinks, the words hitting her like a blow. She thinks of the arena, of the crowds, of the bloodshed, and she knows that Marcus's chances of survival are slim. "But if you lose," Senator Lucius continues, his eyes glinting with malice, "you will die." Marcus's face sets in a determined expression, his jaw clenched, his eyes locked on the senator. Aurelia feels fear mixed with desperation, her heart racing with the thought of losing him. She knows that she must act, must find a way to save him, no matter the cost. The sound of murmuring crowds and the clang of swords being sharpened fills the air, a reminder of the fate that awaits Marcus. She thinks of Marcus, of their love, of the life they want to build together, and she knows that she will do anything to save him. Senator Lucius's words hang in the air, a death sentence pronounced. Aurelia's heart sinks, her mind reeling with the thought of Marcus fighting in the arena. She thinks of the crowds, the bloodshed, the noise, and she knows that Marcus's chances of survival are slim. The scent of sweat and metal fills the air, a reminder of the violence that awaits Marcus. She knows that she must be strong, that she must find a way to save him or risk losing him forever. The guards move in, their swords raised, their faces expressionless, like automatons programmed to kill. Aurelia knows that she must think of something, anything, to save them. The sound of clashing steel echoes through the alley, a reminder of the violence that has brought them to this point. The scene is tense, the words hanging in the air like a challenge. Aurelia knows that she must find a way to save Marcus or risk losing him forever. Aurelia's heart is racing, her mind filled with the thought of losing him, of never seeing him again. Aurelia's sandals click against the marble floor as she rushes through the palace, her heart pounding. The sound of her footsteps echoes through the corridors, a reminder of her desperation. She must see the Roman emperor, plead with him to spare Marcus's life. Incense and fresh flowers scent the air, a stark contrast to the violence and bloodshed that awaits Marcus. Aurelia's mind is filled with the thought of Marcus, of their love, of the life they want to build together. The scent of incense and fresh flowers fills the air, a reminder of the peace and tranquility that she hopes to find. Aurelia bursts through the doors of the throne room, out of breath and trembling. The emperor looks up, his expression stern, his eyes piercing. "Please, your majesty," she says, her voice shaking, her words tumbling out in a desperate plea. "I beg of you, have mercy on Marcus. He is innocent, and I love him." The emperor's expression softens, his eyes filled with a hint of compassion. Aurelia dares to hope, her heart filled with the thought of saving Marcus. The Emperor's voice is like a gentle breeze on a summer's day, but his words are laced with cruelty. The Emperor's words hang in the air, a challenge, a test of Aurelia's resolve. She knows that she must be strong, that she must find a way to save Marcus or risk losing him forever. The sound of her own heartbeat fills her ears, a reminder of her desperation, of her love for Marcus. The Emperor's voice is like a gentle breeze on a summer's day, but his words are laced with cruelty. I will grant your request, Aurelia, but at a cost. Marcus will fight in the arena one last time, and if he emerges victorious, he will be granted his freedom. Aurelia's heart leaps with hope, her mind filled with the thought of saving Marcus. The Emperor's next words hit her like a blow, a reminder of the price she must pay. But you, Aurelia, will marry a man of my choice, a man who will secure your family's future and reputation. Aurelia looks down, her eyes welling up with tears, and whispers, I understand, Your Majesty. The scent of incense and fresh flowers fills the air, a stark contrast to the violence and bloodshed that awaits Marcus. Aurelia's heart is heavy, her mind filled with the thought of losing Marcus, of never seeing him again. The Emperor's words are a reminder of the price she must pay, of the sacrifice she must make. Aurelia's eyes are filled with tears, her heart filled with the thought of losing Marcus. Aurelia sits on the edge of her bed, her fingers tracing the patterns on the silver necklace with a golden gladius pendant, a gift from Marcus. The wind outside whispers through the open window, carrying the scent of blooming flowers into her room. She remembers the day Marcus gave it to her, the way his eyes sparkled as he fastened it around her neck. Now, as she holds the pendant, grief grips her, knowing that their love will be separated by duty and obligation. Her wedding toga lies draped across the chair beside her, its soft folds a constant reminder of her impending marriage. The room is dimly lit, with only candles flickering on the dresser, casting a warm glow on the walls. Aurelia's eyes are cast downward, fixed on the pendant as she turns it over in her hand. The metal feels cool to her touch, unlike Marcus's skin, which always seemed to radiate warmth. She recalls the way he used to hold her, his arms wrapping around her, pulling her close. The memory brings a sigh to her lips, and she lets her head fall into her hands, the pendant still clutched in her fingers. As she sits there, she thinks about the life they had planned, the future they had dreamed of, and the pain of losing it all. She wonders what Marcus is doing at that moment, if he is thinking of her, and if he knows how much she loves him. Pale light spills into the courtyard as Aurelia stands before the altar, her husband-to-be by her side. Murmured congratulations and rustling fabrics fill the space as the guests assemble to witness the union. Aurelia's eyes are dry, her face a mask of composure as she exchanges vows with the man chosen for her by the Emperor. The words feel empty, a hollow promise of devotion to a man she does not love. Her heart remains with Marcus, the gladiator who had captured her soul. As the ceremony concludes, Aurelia's new husband takes her hand, his touch unfamiliar and unwelcome. She forces a smile, a polite gesture to conceal the turmoil within. The guests begin to disperse, their voices and laughter carrying across the courtyard. Aurelia's gaze drifts, searching for a glimpse of Marcus, but he is not among the crowd. She knows he is free now, living in secret, and the thought brings a mix of sorrow and relief. The sound of clinking glasses and distant music fills the air, a stark contrast to the emptiness she feels inside. Aurelia slips away from the festivities, seeking a moment of solitude, and finds herself at the old oak tree, the same spot where she and Marcus had shared countless moments. Crickets provide a soothing background hum, and the moon casts a silver glow over the landscape. Jasmine blooms nearby, filling the air with its sweet scent, and the soft rustle of leaves underfoot is a gentle accompaniment to her footsteps. As she approaches the tree, a figure emerges from the shadows, Marcus. His eyes lock onto hers, and Aurelia's heart skips a beat. They stand before each other, the distance between them a physical barrier. Aurelia's fingers instinctively reach for the pendant, now hidden beneath her clothing. Marcus's gaze follows the movement, and he knows. He knows that she still wears the symbol of their love, that it remains close to her heart. Without a word, they move closer, their hands touching, their lips meeting in a soft, bittersweet kiss. The world around them fades into the background, leaving only the two of them, suspended in the moment, their love burning brightly. "I will always love you," Marcus whispers, his breath warm against her skin. "Forever and always," Aurelia replies, her voice barely audible. They hold each other, the kiss deepening, as the night air wraps around them, a fleeting moment of happiness in a sea of uncertainty.